And
You
boy,
kind of blew past the big story, though. You blew right by it. Matt Fowler's Duquesne Dukes have a lead on the 6th-ranked BYU Cougars because Matt's been picking them. He's been picking them for a couple of weeks now.
yeah, I heard him. I heard him on my flight on the way back. I heard him talking up Duquesne and talking about that. He thinks they're going. Why do you like Duquesne so much?
I don't know, man. They haven't bailed me yet. They owe me some money, So the Duquesne Dukes, I think there's,
We didn't know at first what city it was in.
And then Pittsburgh, we figured it out.
Then we figured it out, and now we're all in. We're all in on this team.
I think that it's not going to happen this year, but I think there's going to be, up and coming in the next few years. There's going to be an NC State-esque like story where just a team who nobody thinks can win it actually wins the whole thing. I don't see it happening.
And you're going to be running around trying to hug somebody like Jim Valvano.
Exactly.
He was running around and no one would hug him, and he needed to get hugged.
He needed to get he did, and if you watch the story about that, they had been doing that every game that they had won, and then the national championship it was Derek Wittenberg, and they've been doing that for like 5 straight games, and then the national championship comes and they can't find him. He's trying to hug somebody, so he just jumps on some pile, and that was that. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, that's a story that people have talked about for years. All I know is NC State. I'm believing. I may have taken NC State. Who are they playing? Texas or Texas A&M? They're playing one of the Texas schools, I think.
I do believe that they can win. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, after winning 5 in a row, I did not go back and look at those highlights though, as I've been just trying to play catch up.
Missed it.
I know. I need to go back and look at it. But anyway, we've got a lot to get to today, guys.
3-hour show? We got a 3-hour show and a 2-hour bag?
Yes, exactly. We've got a 3-hour tour and a 2-hour ride. And we will talk about the tournament. We'll talk about the brackets, and we will go through our bracket as the games progress here. But it is fitting that it is Thursday, and today is the day that we normally have Drew Goldfarb, who is our Las Vegas sports betting analyst.
Did he call in sick so he could sit at the sports book right now and just gorge himself on games?
No, he did not. We got Drew Goldfarb working overtime today.
Okay, so he's going to join us at 10:30. I'm guessing 10:35.
10:30, yes.
And then he said he would stick around for an extended stay today, Matt.
I did specifically say we may keep you longer than normal today.
Because listen, I do want to talk to Drew about what he does in weighing down, breaking down where are the smart picks in the NCAA tournament if you are looking to legally place some wagers or get involved in some of the action.
Asterisks, legally.
Yes. I heard an interesting in some of the sports talk radio I was listening to yesterday, Coz. I heard an interesting take. And I want to ask Drew his thoughts on this, but I heard that statistically, if you were to bet on the 12 and 13 seeds, both against the spread, like taking the points because they're all going to be underdogs, obviously, and on the money line, if you place those 16 bets, statistically, you are going to come out ahead. So I'm curious to see what Drew's take on that is.
I'm not sure. Since I'm not a gambler, I'm not good at following that kind of stuff. So you're saying that there is a system where if you statistically do it the way you were explaining it, we're assured victory?
You're likely to see a 50% increase in your money. If you or what it is, 50, you have a 58% chance of coming out ahead if you place all those wagers. So I'm going to be curious to see if Drew looks
explain the wager.
So basically, okay, Samford is a 13 seed and they are taking on Kansas. I believe Samford is getting 7 or 7.5 when I looked at it this morning because I was looking at the lines because I was trying to fill out my bracket and I was like, all right, well. Let's see what Vegas thinks about these games.
You said the 12. You said the 12 seeds and the 13 seeds. You said 12 seeds.
The 12s and 13s. So, Coach, Samford is a 13 seed. Kansas is minus their leading scorer. He's out for the tournament. Their second leading scorer is still coming back from an injury. He is playing, but he's not 100%. So a lot of people are thinking Kansas might be ripe for the taking here. you could bet Samford two ways. You could take the 7.5 points, in which case you probably are going to be minus 110, which means you're going to need to bet 110 to win 100. Or if you just take Samford to win and you say, I'm not going to take the points, then I believe it's like plus 243. So that means if you bet 100, you would win 243. You don't have to bet 100, but that's how they work it. So if you bet 10, you'd win 2430. Okay. So basically, the thinking is take both. Take Samford plus the 7.5 and take Samford on the money line. You might lose the money line bet, but you might win on the plus 7.5, and then that's a wash. And if you do hit on, if they do win, then you're going to win both bets and you're going to be ahead. And that's going to offset if you lose on some of the other ones. Your gain will outpace your losses on the other ones. If so maybe that's 16 total bets. Maybe you hit on 9 and you lose on 7, but because you hit on 9 and you're getting margins, you've actually increased your money.
It's an amazing system you guys have. You're going to have to talk to Drew about that. That's for a mind much deeper than mine.
And I've
got to be honest.
And this is the kind of system, Coz, that you wonder if Shohei Ohtani's interpreter
probably
was Ippei. You guys want to take Mizuhara. Ippei Mizuhara. That is the other big story. So it is.
Mizuhorrible right now is what he is.
Yeah.
This is horrific.
Yeah, we are, we like everybody else. It was funny because I was listening to, I think most people know by now, there is a big potential scandal brewing right now in Major League Baseball as it pertains to the number one face of the sport, Shohei Ohtani.
Big is an understatement. If this were to be as bad as it could be, it's the worst scandal in all of baseball, in the history of baseball, in my opinion.
Okay, so
the history of baseball.
Yeah.
Wow. That's big.
Here's what we know so far. There is a person under a federal investigation. His name is Matt Bauer. And he is
Matt Fowler?
Not Matt Fowler.
Why did the guy have to be Matt? Why?
I had a feeling Coz was going to say Matt Fowler. No, not Matt Fowler. And it's actually not Bauer, it's Boyer, by the way, but it's close enough. So Matt Boyer is under investigation by the feds for running an illegal gambling operation, being a bookie in Southern California. And they raided his house several months ago. And they went through his books, they found that he had received money that had come in the form of wire transfers. And the wire transfers were from Shohei Ohtani's account with Shohei Ohtani's name. And they on the memo line, they said loan. And so Shohei, so this all broke out. And initially, Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, and again, so Matt, give me the name one more time. You said it so well. Mizuhara?
Yeah, Ippei Mizuhara.
Ippei Mizuhara, who has been...
Wait. We're going to the guy who says Timberwolves for the explanation of an international name.
Jim,
that's what we're doing? Timberwolves.
Do you want to give it a shot, Coz?
Well, let me find it.
Mizuhara.
I'm on the other story. I'm on a different story right now, so I got to see it. I have to see it
it's
written.
Ippei, and then Mizuhara. I think Mizuhara seems right. Anyway, while Coz figures it out, Mizuhara is so Tuesday. Here's where the story gets weird, right? So Shohei's name pops up, and then on Tuesday, Mizuhara gives a 90-minute interview to ESPN in which he takes full accountability and says, no, these are my gambling debts that I incurred. I have a gambling problem. Shohei was there with me. He agreed to pay off the debts for me, and he authorized these wire transfers, and Shohei had nothing to do with it. Shohei didn't gamble on anything, and certainly there was no gambling on baseball. We know that is wrong. According to the records on Boyer's side, he's saying that the bets were on mostly on international soccer. I've got a full page of notes here, so there's a lot to digest here. But they're stressing that there was no gambling on baseball at all, and Boyer says that he didn't have any direct contact with Ohtani, although he did brag to friends in Vegas that he had a line to Shohei Ohtani, so that doesn't look good. And So Mizuhara says, yes, this is what happened. It's all me. Then the next day, so that was Tuesday, he gives a 90-minute interview to ESPN. Then Wednesday he comes out and says, no, actually forget everything I just said to ESPN. None of that is true. Shohei didn't have any idea about any of this. And Shohei's camp now has come out and says that he's been the victim of theft. And now Mizuhara, by the way, was officially an employee of the Anaheim Angels and was, as of this morning, is not any longer, but it was, as of this morning, officially an employee of the Los Angeles Dodgers. This story is just getting started, and this is a huge, huge problem on a lot of levels for not only Major League Baseball, but for all of professional sports. And, Coz, any way you break this down, whether or not Shohei can be linked to actually making any bets. And by the way, Major League Baseball gambling policy, here's what it says. It prohibits any player, umpire, or club or league official or employee from betting on the game or making illegal bets on other sports. The punishment for gambling with an illegal bookmaker or their agent isn't specified in the rules, however, and it's left up to, quote, such penalty as the commissioner deems appropriate in light of the facts and circumstances of the conduct. So there's a lot of latitude here for the commissioner to be able to get involved. There's an investigation, no doubt, that the MLB front office, I'm sure, is already embarking on to figure out how deep the tentacles on this go. But the bottom line is you've got your star player, the face of the game, with his name on wire transfers going to a bookie who was running an illegal gambling operation in Los Angeles. So, I mean, this is a terrible, terrible turn of events for Major League Baseball and all of sports.
All right, well, let me jump in here. Let's start with, I'm going to use both of your guys' words. I believe, Dave, you said this is a horrible or potentially a horrible, horrible situation for Major League Baseball, right? And a terrible look for the game. And Matt, I think you said it is the biggest betting scandal that we've seen in baseball since the Black Sox scandal, maybe ever. Fair enough? Are those? Yeah. Did I characterize what you guys said properly?
Correct.
Okay. I go to ESPN.com. Are you ready, guys?
Yep.
On the right hand where it says top headlines. Now, I think it's a pretty darn good story, right? It's a pretty big story. The highest paid player in the history of professional sports, an international face of the game of Major League Baseball, is involved in some way, whether his money was stolen or there was gambling involved, but his name is attached to it. On the right, they have top headlines. First story, Long Beach State Athletic Director, I fired coach to inspire team. Second story, Yamamoto of the Dodgers rocked in debut, lasts only one inning. Third story, Meyer to retire after 19 years as Miami's coach. Fourth story, new Michigan defensive line coach resigns after OWI arrest. Fifth story, Ohtani's interpreter fired, quote, massive theft alleged. It's the fifth most important story on ESPN.com. You tell me, with ESPN having a deal with Major League Baseball to air games, you tell me, is there an effort to possibly squash this story and not make it as big as possible?
Yes. 100%. And I'll tell you that on the front page of CNN yesterday, this story, the headline was there about the fourth one down, along with, international news about things happening on the Gaza Strip and the gang violence in Haiti and all that, and whatever your Donald Trump story du jour is. Like the fourth story down was Shohei. So this is being treated as a big deal, and it's just getting started. And
that's number 5. It's the fifth story, though. Don't you think it should be number 1?
Of course it should, but it's not because it's in ESPN's best, because this makes all of sports look bad. This makes everything look bad, and it's in ESPN's best interest, in my opinion.
Well, but here's the thing. I don't know if we're gauging too much on where it's put on the website. I had ESPN radio on this morning, Coz. And, it was what they were talking about. But I had to laugh because we're all giant hypocrites, because we'll sit here and talk about it. We'll talk about how bad gambling can be for sports. We'll talk about Rudy Gobert making money sign gestures and getting fined $100,000 by the NBA. We'll sit here and talk about all this. But you know what? if DraftKings calls us at the end of the show and says that they want to come on board as a title sponsor, we're taking that money in a second. And when I was listening to ESPN radio this morning, and they were talking about how bad the gambling is for sports, and they went to commercial, the first commercial they had was from either FanDuel or DraftKings or one of them. And it's just I just don't know where it ends. And it's a good day to have Drew coming on. We talked about it with him last week, and this story is not going to go away. But at the end of the day, this, I think, is bigger than anything we've seen at this point, only because you're talking about a guy now who was a team employee. And he was, at the very least, he was directly violating the MLB gambling policy by placing bets illegally. Whether they were on baseball or not, he was placing illegal bets with an illegal bookie. And supposedly the debt ran up to be in excess of over $4 million. And so he either stole the money from Shohei, or he got the loan from Shohei to pay it off, or perhaps, worst case scenario, there are people who are going to wonder, was Shohei involved in making some of these wagers? And this is all going to be stuff that will get vetted out, and it's going to be a long, drawn-out process. It's not going to be good for Shohei. It's not going to be good for the Dodgers. It's not going to be good for baseball. And, oh, yeah, by the way, Coz, what happened to the Dodgers in their game today?
They actually had a football game with the San Diego Padres. Yamamoto, the starter, and the $300 million prize that the Dodgers signed after the $700 million they gave to Ohtani. He got tattooed in the first inning, went one full inning, gave up 5 runs, and the Padres beat the Doyers 15-11. So 1-1 start for both teams in Korea. So that was the baseball news, which no one will talk about because we're too busy talking about the face of the game somehow having his name attached to a gambling scenario. Now, I don't know much about gambling, but I'll let me ask a couple of questions one at a time. If Ohtani had signed with a team in a state that had legalized gambling. So Tennessee does, they don't have a team, but pick a state that has legalized gambling. Let's say Michigan
Nevada,
does.
Oh, yeah, the Las Vegas A's.
Yeah, let's say the Las Vegas
years.
A's. And so that's legalized gambling. What could the interpreter have legally gambled on if he was still the interpreter for Ohtani and they lived in a gambling positive state?
As the rules appear, anything other than baseball.
Okay. And it could have been on an app, and he could have made a bet. Now, he was not living in a state that has legalized gambling. California hasn't figured out how to game it yet, and so they don't make it legal. And so in that state, they were using a bookie, which is considered illegal gambling, and he racked up some bills of over
7 figures.
7 figures. So, and I just need to understand, did he rack up 7 figures all at once, and the bookie let him go to $4 million in debt before he was asking for money? Or do you think along the way he was down $100,000 and he wrote him a check for $100,000, and then he got down another $200,000? So can you help me understand? Because I don't know. I've loaned money to people before, but I don't think I'd ever loan $4 million out or give someone $4 million of play before they started paying me.
Would you give $4 million to someone if you knew that their best friend, who they every day drove to work with, who their wives were friends, had $700 million in the bank?
No, I still wouldn't. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't. I'm friends with Matt Fowler. Matt Fowler's worth a lot of money. I would not give Matt's girlfriend $100,000. Knowing that Matt has a lot of money. You know what I mean? I just wouldn't do it because I don't assume that someone else is going to pay for this other guy's, gambling. Yeah. Especially like this is me.
Okay. Let me ask you this.
Continue.
What if said person said, "Yeah, I'll cover him"? Like if they came to you and said, "Don't worry about it. Take care of him. He's my guy. If anything goes wrong, I got his back."
I would say write me the first check. And we'll go from there. But if that's the case, Ohtani's a stupid guy.
So, and if that's the case, Ohtani's in big trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me pull back the curtain a little bit here. Okay,
I'm a degenerate gambler. That's the first step, Matt. That's the first step. We'll get you to Gamblers Anonymous.
In my younger days, okay, in my 20s, I would.
What's a weekend of sports without a little action? And no one craves the action.
What the heck was
More
that?
than gambling degenerate aficionado, Matt Fowler.
Babe, you suck. I for a little while, there were a few times I knew some people that had access to bookies and stuff, and so I would throw $100 here and there, and I kind of understood how it worked, and I knew how this stuff works. So here's my understanding, and again, for me it was a few $100, so nothing on anything like that scale, but there's a trust system. In order to get access, in order for Mizuhara to get access to this guy has to trust Mizuhara, and Mizuhara has to be referred to him by somebody.
Right, they met somewhere along the way. There was a meeting.
They met in Vegas. According
at
to
a poker
the
tournament, right? Poker tournament.
Yeah. But again, Boyer was bragging that he had a direct line to Ohtani.
Right.
So all roads lead to Ohtani. What his level of how complicity is in all this is yet to be seen, but he's tied to it, and it's awful.
Right. Now I would say this, and I'm going to fight for Ohtani on this one.
Okay.
Boyer, or is it Bauer or Boyer?
Boyer.
Boyer is trying to increase his business. So he's taken on Ohtani's lackey so that he can tell other guys who want to gamble, hey, I got a line to Ohtani, so don't worry, we're all good. I swear he was just using Ohtani as a name. Like if I'm going to make his case, Boyer was just using Ohtani's name to garner other business. Ohtani can say, Jesus, that's anybody. I walk into their store, I buy a chewing gum, and the store's got my picture up there saying the official store of Ohtani's chewing gum.
No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
No, I mean the thing is to go back to your first question, Jim, about would he let $4 million get racked up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bookies, if they can see a source of funds, and if Boyer's bragging, I have a direct line to Ohtani, then that was his thinking. Then because no bookie is going to let you get, and it is my understanding, apparently the debt was slow growing. Whether payments were made before, I don't know. Well, obviously they weren't, because $4.5 million was transferred all at once.
Oh, it was. So he let it get to $4 million.
No, I read that it was paid, that there were installments of $500,000 paid.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't read that. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I read this morning.
Okay. But but the point is, to get a credit limit that high is just, it doesn't happen unless there's either some serious trust or some serious money already paid. And it sounds like Boyer saying that he had a direct line to Ohtani might have been true.
And that could be. And can I ask one other question?
Yeah.
What if the guy didn't pay? What would Boyer do?
Well, okay.
You can't go to government and say, hey, this guy's been betting with me. He hasn't paid me.
Well, then Boyer can come out and say, hey, he could threaten to expose Ohtani, which now it's all come out anyway. I've got a better question for you, Coz, and you can think about this, because we're up against the break and we can answer this. But if you're Rob Manfred, what are you doing today? What are you doing today? Because, by the way, this investigation, which was spawned all this, it's part of a wider probe in which they have implicated ex-Dodger Yasiel Puig, who has pleaded not guilty. And we'll see whether or not he's able to beat those charges. but he's been implicated as well as a former minor league baseball player named Wayne Nix, who lives in Newport Beach. So, and there, there's words that there were other athletes from other sports that have been caught as part of this probe. This is a big deal, and we are just getting started. We're just getting started on the show. We're not only going to talk gambling today, but it is such a big thing that we do need to talk about.
We have got upset special going on right now. I can't wait for the update. There are 2 massive upsets going on right now.
Really? The 9 seed is a massive upset. All right.
Stop underselling it, Jim.
I'm telling you.
I'm sorry, overselling it. Stop overselling it. 9 beating an 8.
Timberwolves.
You know what?
All right, let's take a break. We'll have a Matt Fowler update. Drew Goldfarb joins us. And by the way, let's open the phone lines if you want to call. 352-234-TONY, 352-234-8669 if you've ever placed a bet of any sort ever in your life. We want to hear about it.
Exactly.
Plus we have presidential gambling. I will reveal after this.
Oh, that's a tease.
Is Joe Biden under investigation for illegal gambling?
Back with more LFG after this.
You start with 64, then you cut that in half. You break them brackets down and see who's standing last.
Yeah, this is an easy show today.
Yeah, it is.
I almost have too much material. There's keep this in mind. There's a show I want to do during the tournament on an off day, where the tournament, every team has a guy that's gone through the transfer portal, and I think, to use that as the theme, I would like us to go into the fan transfer portal, so that we're all fans of a particular team, but we get to leave our team that we've been rooting for because we're sick of them. We're going into the transfer portal. Which team would you leave your rootership for to root for another team?
I love it.
Like Matt's a Warrior fan. All right, they're about to become one of the worst teams in the NBA. You're not gonna watch them, if they paid you. So the question becomes, who would you go to? Would you become a Laker fan? Would you become a Bulls fan? I like the fan transfer portal.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, but we don't. I think let's do that in a couple.
Well, I'm going to go to whoever's giving me the most NIL money.
Oh, that's interesting. Would a team do that?
All right. By the way, so I have the presidential gambling thing. If we want to do that at some point, it's funny. It's AI. Somebody put it together. It's hilarious. What's up, Drew?
Giacomo.
How's it going?
Giacomo writing about Bruce Springsteen.
Why? What did Giacomo write? What's up,
no,
Drew?
He just did some.
How's it going?
I saw him. Hey, Drew. I saw him post something on Facebook, and I was reading it, and I thought it was going to be some fun update on something. Instead, it was a
All right.
something
all right,
about
guys.
Bruce Springsteen.
All right, guys, come back.
It's the bottom of the hour, or close enough. Time for your Tickscape Studios Sports Update with Matt Fowler.
Long Beach State's athletic director said the timing of his decision to fire coach Dan Munson was done with the hope that it might trigger the exact run that led the team to the unexpected trip to the NCAA tournament.
What a jackwagon.
And new Michigan defensive line coach Greg Scruggs resigned Thursday, 5 days after being arrested in Ann Arbor for operating a vehicle while intoxicated. For all the latest news, updates, hot takes, tune into the Tony Bruno Sports Network on the TBSN app. Now back to Dave Benz, Jim Kozimor, and sports betting expert Drew Goldfarb on LFG.
Yeah, it is time for Drew. By the way, I actually do have the Drew Goldfarb open, ready and loaded. So here we go.
Yeah.
Matt, you got to give some scores,
Vegas
bro.
sets the numbers. He stays up all night dissecting them.
The Gambletron 2000 says the winner is...
LFG welcomes sports betting analyst Drew Goldfarb.
Always good to have Drew here on Thursdays. And Drew, this is not the show as I was expecting to have with you today. We will, at the top of the hour, we'll get into our normal Drew Goldfarb type stuff. And I do want to get your thoughts on, the NCAA tournament and where there's some value in being able to make some picks. And we've got 2 games going on right now, so there will still be a whole lot of action people can get in on other than these 2 games, unless they want to get in on some of the live betting on these 2 games. But you can check out Drew at dgpicks.com. Drew, I feel like we just talked about this last week because it was on the heels of the Rudy Gobert news, getting fined $100,000 for putting his fingers in the air and kind of, mimicking a money sign at one of the officials in an NBA game. But, boy, this thing has gotten even deeper than it was where we were a week ago in light of this news involving Shohei Ohtani. There has yet to be any flames as it pertains to Ohtani directly, but, boy, there is a lot of smoke coming out of the Dodgers clubhouse right now, and this is not a good look, and I'm just curious your thoughts on you're a big baseball guy. I know you break down the game quite a bit. This is this has the potential to be a big-time black eye for the sport.
It does if. Right, and we should qualify all of that right now because I at the moment everything that has come out is strictly about the interpreter. The interpreter has said Ohtani does not gamble. Ohtani said Ohtani does not gamble. The league has said that there's no evidence that Ohtani has gambled. So at the moment, you've got someone who is connected to one of the 3 biggest names in Major League Baseball, who is in a heap of trouble for betting on sports at the moment in a way that is not legal, and with huge money involved at the moment. There is nothing that directly links Ohtani to it, if this is theft on the interpreter's part, or even as Ohtani had previously said, that if it was a reimbursement to try and help a friend, and not a direct placing of wagers or anything along those lines. So, I want to make sure that we say that up front because, it could be, but at the moment, this isn't necessarily Pete Rose. This might be something slightly, at the moment, Ohtani is a victim in this situation and not a perpetrator.
How strange is it, Drew, and you're more deeply into this than the average person, but how unusual is it that there is someone who is the bankroll for another human being who's $4 million in debt?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak necessarily on something that I can't claim like total, it's, that with anybody who makes a lot of money, and Shohei Ohtani makes a lot of money, so many athletes make a lot of money, that you have a circle of people who are going to make a lot of money by being connected to it. Friends that get hired to do different roles or jobs or anything like that, to be part of, a support structure for the big money maker in that situation. You see it with athletes, you see it with actors, you see it in situations where there is significant, we're talking about 8-figure type monies involved. It's, I think you hear a lot of, usually it's kind of in a different light where you've got someone overreaches their, what their money should be in a situation, and it comes out because there is a split, or someone is, removing someone from their circle. And you hear that with actors, and you hear that with athletes sometimes, where you get into that kind of unfortunate situation where the money splits a friendship kind of thing, or it could be a parent or something along those lines, because you do hear that as well. This is obviously a developing and really unfortunate story at the moment, and if happens, then it would change from being unfortunate into something else. At the moment, it is unfortunate the way that things seem to have gone here.
Drew Goldfarb is with us. Drew, it's not just baseball and this Ohtani thing. We're just getting started figuring out how deep this goes. It's other sports. And then this comes on the heels of what J.B. Bickerstaff said before the Cavaliers game against the Miami Heat the other night. Matt, you've got that sound, I know. Let's go ahead and play that. This might be even more disturbing than the Shohei stuff, and the Shohei stuff is pretty disturbing. Matt?
Matt's looking at his
I
screen.
mean, I don't know. It's not a conversation that we've had, to be honest with you. I definitely see his point of view. We've had our own. I personally have had my own instances with, some of the sports gamblers where they got my telephone number and were sending me, crazy messages about where I live and my kids and all that stuff. So it is a dangerous game and a fine line that we're walking for sure. It brings added pressure. It brings, a distraction to the game that can be difficult for players, coaches, referees, everybody that's involved in it. And I think that, we really have to be careful, with how close we let it get to the game and the security of the people who are involved in it, because, again, it does carry a weight. A lot of times the people who are gambling, like this money, pays their light bill or pays their rent. And then the emotions that come from that. So I do think we're walking a very fine line, and we have to be extremely careful in protecting everybody who's involved.
So that's JB Bickerstaff. People got his phone number and were texting him about his kids and where they go to school. I mean, this is getting scary, guys. Like, this is I don't know where it ends. I don't know how we police it. You're starting the NCAA tournament today, which is one of the biggest driving forces in all of gambling on the sports calendar here in the United States. And you've got, in the same 48-hour period that the tournament is getting started, you've got JB Bickerstaff admitting that gambling people have gotten his phone number and brought up things to him involving his kids. And you've got Shohei Ohtani now being linked to a 7-figure gambling debt with an illegal operation in L.A. And then you go to break and you hear the FanDuel and the DraftKings commercials. I don't know what they can do about this, but, man, it is uncharted waters that we are all in.
I mean, doxing is an issue that covers a lot in the modern times. That happens because people post something on social media that someone disagrees with, and suddenly their phone number. There was a YouTuber that I have watched for a decade who was posting video content to comment on the style of another YouTuber, and that YouTuber that was being commented on showed up to his house and posted his address on social media to millions of people with millions of followers, basically targeting that person. So that YouTuber has since apologized, just so that this way that goes on the record with that, because I don't want my house shown up to. But doxing is a situation that has become problematic for a number of things. Sports betting obviously is going to be one way that people have. If people are doing it irresponsibly, if people are doing it and they are just getting so stressed out about it, or if they're just, if they're just assholes, that's just one way that's going to be able to open things up for that. We've seen on social media pre-sports betting, a kicker misses a field goal and the amount of hate that gets thrown. There's basically one fan base that does the opposite, and that's the Buffalo Bills, who will go out of their way to reward a player on a different team that helps their team by donating to a charity or that sort of thing. But in so many other cases, you have situations where there is constant harassment. There is, and now with just the accessibility of so much, it is terrifying to have someone discover your phone number, your address, to send you comments about your kids. That is awful. The sports betting part is certainly a spark to it, but it's not the only thing that could spark it or has previously. We've seen sports fans do stupid things long before sports betting was legal, and it's just bad and needs to stop regardless, and there needs to be things in place to help basically punish people who do doxing to the extent and to the consistency that doing so for something as dumb as not covering a spread is results in such a harsh punishment that it would scare the absolute crap out of anybody to make them stop, or to just heavily punish someone that does it, because that is 100% wrong in any circumstance.
But in all that, Drew, I'm not hearing anything about how we patrol it with the leagues and with the sports and with
let's
players.
back it up. Let's back it up, because America, the United States, is late to the game when it comes to gambling. I think, Drew, you might be able to back that up. We've all traveled to different parts of the world. I was in Australia over 20 years ago. You could bet on a game right outside the stadium. Same thing in all these other countries in the world. We've seen it in European soccer an awful lot. How much of this was anticipated? How much of this is they were putting the system into place because it's gone on in other countries in the world? Was this, and I know that you're not in the back rooms of the NBA offices when Adam Silver said, hey, let's let gambling in, but how much of this was anticipated maybe by people in your industry or from looking at what has happened in other countries?
I mean, I don't know that you would expect there to be doxing, I'm sure, and that sort of thing. I'm sure that you would expect there to be something, right? You're going to, anytime that you have something new and it gets just completely thrown out, if you remember when you turned the legal drinking age, the way that you drank alcohol in that first year was very different than what you did 10 years later. And part of it is because your metabolism would change, but also part of it is because it was new and you were thrown in the deep end where you went from it being nothing at all to everything is available to you. So it's something that, you obviously have to figure out what you're going to do with it. I don't know that there are certain things like, if you want to say, oh, you could anticipate A, B, and C, I don't know that you would have said like, oh, we're going to have to protect our coaches and players from being doxxed if they don't score a certain number of points in a game, and we're going to have to do that sort of thing. I don't know that that would have been something that you necessarily have to anticipate. Being able to, keep a closer eye on officials, on players, to make sure that they are playing within the bounds of fairness and not, doing things like that. That is absolutely something that you have to have anticipated. That's why we've seen suspensions in the NFL, because of something that wasn't, on the surface, like really bad necessarily, but did go against the guidelines that they had put in place to try and prevent something bad from happening, where you see a suspension from someone who was just deciding to place an unrelated wager from a team property. That's why those types of things exist. And, you see people who are not offenders to the extent of like what we're talking about with these two examples, or anywhere close to it, but you have to have that in place to try and avoid that sort of thing from a league perspective. Protecting your players, your coaches, your staffs from the outside world, from fans and from people who are over the top, is something that I don't know that I would say like, oh, you could anticipate it, but we've seen it in all walks of life. The amount of Star Wars actors that had to either leave social media because, toxic fans were going after Daisy Ridley and other actors in the sequel trilogy and that sort of thing, or going after, Kathleen Kennedy's a constant target of ridicule from Star Wars fans on social media.
Really?
So, oh, yeah.
What the heck is going on in this world?
Right?
No one hates Star Wars like Star Wars fans. It's the same with wrestling, and those are two fandoms that I'm
great
part
line.
of.
That's
but
a great line.
On the positive side, I love Star Wars. I love the sequel trilogy. I love all of the shows I've seen. Not all of them are my favorite, but I appreciate the content, especially as someone who didn't, really have new movies or Star Wars movies in theaters until I was 11 years old, and only had 3. But
Right.
But wrestling fans hate wrestling. No one loves to bitch and moan about wrestling online like wrestling fans do.
So true.
And even when you get what you're happy with, which is happening right now with WWE, everyone wanted Cody Rhodes to finish the story at WrestleMania. Suddenly it was The Rock for like a week. Then everybody was like, whoa, no, we want Cody's story. They gave it back to Cody, and now people are complaining that The Rock isn't facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. So fandoms are just, it seems to be a thing, and I'm sure it would have been a thing in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, if the internet and social media existed. This is the modern age. This is what happens when something is incredibly popular. It sucks. It's the awful part of fandom is when you have people who are just going to do things and going to be so overly negative. Daisy Ridley, just to use that example, deleted her Instagram for years because of the backlash she was getting. She made a post, to support a group or something like that, and just was getting hate comments out by the thousands or 10,000s and getting harassed on unrelated posts that she would make down the line. And then you had everything else with other Star Wars actors getting, stuff over episodes 8 and 9. It's just people. Patrick Stump, the lead singer of Fall Out Boy, had a line where it's, a person is all right, but people have never done a good thing. When you get those groups and those mob mentalities, it's a bad time regardless. So this is not something that I would say like, oh, the NBA should have anticipated there being fans going in and digging for phone numbers and making threats or veiled threats. Yeah. But, in the last 10 years, I can't say it is surprising as someone who is a wrestling fan and a Star Wars fan. I can't say it's shocking. It is terrible. But I don't know that the NBA should have anticipated that, and I don't know. But, responding to that is obviously important because you have to protect the people who are part of your organization.
All right, but Come on, Drew. Young Drew Goldfarb was all over Jar Jar Binks, and then you were trying to out George Lucas, weren't you? You were a young Drew. He hated Jar Jar Binks and said, George Lucas, I'm sending people to your crib.
I was young enough to have liked Jar Jar Binks or not hated Jar Jar Binks when the movies were in theaters, and then to have not liked the prequel trilogy after. To have basically, but I love the actor. He got to do a role in, I believe it's Andor, the TV series for Disney Plus, the Disney Plus Star Wars series. He's gotten to do a role in one of those, and I love that for him because it's none of the. I have my rankings, my preferences of movies out of it, but I don't hate Hayden Christensen or anything like that if I dislike episode 2. And I don't hate the actor, his name is slipping my mind, but for Jar Jar Binks, just because I don't think episode 1 told the story that I would have liked to have seen. But, I appreciate we're getting the Star Wars theme, which is just...
That's what we do here. Yeah, we overproduce.
The better soundtrack.
The ad popped up as I was trying to pull it up, so that's what you heard there for a second. And we're getting a little bit off course, so I do want to ask you guys, because I asked you this going to break, and I want to ask Drew this as well. I'm curious if you're Rob Manfred and if you're Adam Silver, and I know, listen, Rob Manfred is probably, as it pertains specifically to what's happening with Shohei Ohtani, they probably would hide behind the, hey, this is an ongoing investigation, we can't comment on it, whatever. But as it pertains to the look of gambling and what's going on with your sport, don't you think that Rob Manfred and Adam Silver and Roger Goodell and all the other commissioners, I should know the NHL commissioner's name.
Gary Bettman.
Gary Bettman.
Still Gary Bettman. It is still Gary? I assume.
Only.
Wow. Okay, I figured Gary was out by now. God, I can't believe
I think the longest tenured, right? Is he the longest tenured? A little bit longer than Goodell?
He's much longer than Goodell.
Yeah.
He's been the NHL commissioner for almost as long as I've been alive.
Yeah, it's been
He's over 30 years.
That's
he's
why
the
I
first and only commissioner in NHL history.
That's why I just assumed it couldn't be him anymore. But okay, Gary Bettman. So, don't you feel like they somehow need to come out and maybe even jointly come out and say, hey, we're forming a commission, a gambling task force, whatever. I don't know what, because I asked you, you had a little bit of time to think about this. If you're Rob Manfred, do you feel like you need to make some kind of statement today about this, and what would that be? And what's the course you go on?
The statement's easy on this one. It's we're going to be investigating this and staying close to it until we have more information. We're not going to say anything. But, Drew, the bigger thing is gambling is such a now large revenue stream for all of these sports. At what point, I think Dave's greater point is, at what point do these sports come together and have to have a governing body or some type of overarching group that makes sure that they keep their hands on this? Because if Shohei Ohtani's name is attached in any way, shape, or form, and I already think it is, there needs to be something swift, like when Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis decided to tell, Shoeless Joe Jackson and the rest of those guys, you can't play anymore. You know, and that's extreme, but it got gambling out of the minds of the fan.
Yeah, it also took a guy out who seemed to be innocent in the whole situation, because you mentioned Shoeless Joe Jackson.
From the one movie, yes. From the one movie, it seemed that way, but I don't know if that's true.
I would have to double check the history on it. I think it leans more true than not, because I think that his numbers during that World Series were, if he was not trying,
he hit over 300. Yes,
yeah.
He hit over 300.
Yeah. By the way, Ahmed Best is the actor that played Jar Jar Binks. So just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. He was awesome. But yeah, I certainly feel like there's going to have to be something that will be done, if only to alleviate concerns. And I'm sure that, you know, more important than the public joint statement is just to make sure that the coaches and players and staffs and the GMs and all that stuff feel like they are being heard and taken care of in that regard. Because if you've got the situation in the NBA or Major League Baseball or that kind of whatever it is, you've got to make sure that, kind of like the way that, you could point to, if you want to go to recent stuff, and not sports betting related, but the way that Major League Baseball handled the Houston Astros cheating scandal, the way that the NFL handled Spygate, the way that the NHL hasn't really had one of those, but there's a lot of, there's more smaller ones with the NHL when it comes to, player suspensions for certain types of hits not necessarily being super consistent. But you have to basically, in that way, the way that the Astros one was handled, the way the Patriots one was handled, I don't know that you could say that every player in the league was satisfied with the outcome of those situations. So I think that that's kind of where it starts. And if you are Roger Goodell, if you're Rob Manfred, if you're, just a commissioner of any of the big four, you have to make sure that you've got a clear, that your players and coaches have a clear understanding of what is expected of them, and that they also have a clear understanding of what you are doing and what the league is doing to ensure that it doesn't get infiltrated in the other way, right? You want to make sure that the players have a clear understanding of the rules, the restrictions that they've got, how they can and can't be connected in any way, or that sort of thing, where that line is drawn, make it bold and clear and not fuzzy, and make sure that they and their concerns are also alleviated. When we were talking about the gesture towards an official in the NBA, the idea that officiating should be more clear and should be the way that is the oversight on officiating should be more transparent, I think is a great idea. Was a great idea before sports betting, because any home plate umpire, having transparency with that, how that kind of thing is reviewed in the short term and long term, I think is really important. So I think that is kind of where it starts. If you want to do a joint statement, a release a statement that I don't know that any statement is going to alleviate anything, because what would it have to say to make you go like, all right, yeah, cool, we're moving on? What would Manfred have to come out and say to make you not talk about Ohtani tomorrow? Because they're not going to suspend him, because at the moment there's nothing that he's done, other than having
and by the way, the other possibility on all this, which it could I guess hasn't been ruled out. What if Shohei really truly has been just a victim of crime and somehow got fleeced for $4.5 million? And
Dave, can I jump in?
Yeah.
True. That was one of my contentions. Is that basically Mizuhara came out and said, after he initially said that Shohei had bailed him out, he now says, okay, well, no, Shohei didn't know anything. Well, if Shohei didn't know anything, how did you get Shohei Ohtani's bank account and routing number to wire the money? It doesn't make any sense. It has to be one of these three scenarios, but it can't be that because I'd be very surprised if Shohei Ohtani's interpreter had his banking information to be able to wire money.
I'm close with a lot of people, but they don't have my routing number. That's for sure.
Although that is the definition of theft. You come up with that.
Identity theft. Yeah, identity theft happens all the time. My mom had a situation where she had to have like LifeLock act to prevent something because something had been done with a doctor that she saw once a handful of years ago. And that was a situation where you go like, well, how does this person get access to that if all you're doing is, if all you're doing is going to see them for, whatever, if that's your primary physician or whoever it was, like how does that person suddenly get access to all these things? It's identity theft. There's a reason that I pay $300 a year to have protection on that kind of thing.
Well, and it happens in all forms. Drew, I'm cutting you off only because we're up against the break, but I saw a story about a guy who took a picture of somebody's boarding pass at an airport and used his photo to get on the plane as that guy. So it happens on all levels. It's a topic that's not going away, but we do have to hit the break, and when we come back, we do want to be the total hypocrites and start talking about gambling and how you can best use that to your advantage for the NCAA tournament. And Jim Cosmore is happy. He's not. The state of Michigan is representing well. Or are you rooting against Michigan State?
I'm rooting against the Spartans.
All right.
My alma mater.
Well, we will give you the updates on the NCAA tournament. We'll get Drew's thoughts on that. It's all ahead when Hour 2 of LFG comes up after this timeout.
All right, we got we got 3 minutes. Well, I don't know if is the top of the hour going to play immediately after 11, so we might have
probably. I can roll another commercial though.
So
if
we
that
have
happens.
Yeah, we have like 2.5 minutes. If you don't roll any more commercials.
Yeah, I'll roll a couple.
Can I do the presidential thing because
what presidential thing?
Hey, girl.
That's more of a lighthearted kind of funny thing. We're transitioning to more lighthearted.
Sure. What is the presidential thing?
Somebody made an AI thing about.
For a sec.
Sure. Do you have the sound? Is it sound
yes,
or is it just?
Yeah, it's sound. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Do you want to come back with it? Come back with it out of the open.
Okay. Well, I feel like we should kind of explain what it is though for a second.
Okay.
But yeah, I think Drew would would like that too.
Okay.
Addie was barking her head off at something.
Is she good now? She wanted the tennis ball.
Yeah. Probably. She probably heard like a delivery truck or something outside, or somebody closing their door and beeping it locked 3 times. So, as you may remember, Dave, there's a guy across the street that has like a Dodge Hemi that he likes to idle his car.
Oh, that's not good.
No.
So, Dave, do you want me to play the intro then, or do you want to play another commercial? Because we're coming up on the top of the hour.
I'll play a commercial.
Okay.
I'll play 2 short ones.
Okay.
I had a good job until my boss accused me of stealing. I better call Saul. I was out partying, minding my own business.
You are under arrest.
I'd better call Saul.
Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. Did you know that you have rights? The Constitution says you do, and so do I. I believe that until proven guilty, every man, woman, and child in this country is innocent. And that's why I fight for you, Albuquerque.
Better call Saul.
Yes. Lightning McQueen here, and I use Rusty's medicated bumper ointment, new rear end formula. Nothing sues a rusty bumper like
How much
Rusty's.
Wow, 10 seconds.
Look at that shine. Use Rusty's, and you too can look like me. Ka-chow!
Are you ready? Live from the Tickscape Studios, less And go.
All right, welcome back. Hour 2 of LFG underway. 5+ minutes remaining in the first game that tipped off in the NCAA tournament, not counting the first 4. Michigan State currently leading Mississippi State by 14. I am pro Mississippi State in this game as well, Coach, so that's not working out for me. Duquesne early in the second half, an 8-point lead over BYU.
Yeah.
And Akron and Creighton, I expected Creighton to blow Akron out.
We got a game.
They're tied right now with 7+ minutes remaining in the first half.
Upset Central. I'm 0 for 3 if that happens.
Central. By the way, today is one of my favorite days. It's Thursday. We will later on today open the LFG mailbag, which is always both interesting and topical. And speaking of topical, Matt Fowler, what is this that you have queued up for us that you are excited for us to, and speaking of AI, that you are excited to play?
Yeah, so let me just kind of explain how this works. And Drew, I think, will appreciate this. So AI is amazing. AI is wonderful. We ChatGPT with our celebrity MMAs, we enjoy it every week. And so AI knows no bounds. So some wonderful human who loves to entertain put together scenarios in which, hypothetical scenarios in which, what would happen if Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and Barack Obama dabbled in a little bit of gambling? And how would those conversations go? And there's a number of conversations and videos that you can watch online, and I have pulled the sound from one of them, and this is what happens when the president of the United States gets a little bit too involved with some baseball.
You said Padres' money line was a lock, and they fucking lost.
Well, it's not like that parlay would have hit anyway. Tatum and Harden didn't do shit.
You don't understand, Donald. I lost everything.
Joe, how much did you lose?
Well, you know how the U.S. is allegedly running out of money?
Yeah.
Now we're out.
Jesus fucking Christ, Joe.
I'm sorry. I thought it was a lock.
Did you at least take my Orioles pick?
No, I didn't have any money left.
Never put all your eggs in one basket, Joseph. Unless it's Senor Clucks. That's always a lock.
I should have taken your cockfighting picks. You're right.
Maybe you shouldn't be using ChatGPT and Donald fucking Trump to give you gambling advice in the first place.
If he took the Orioles and Senor Clucks, we could have solved a financial crisis in this country.
But now it's 10 times worse.
What am I going to do, guys? I screwed up bad.
There's only one way to solve this, Joseph.
How?
More sports betting.
Joe, don't fucking listen to him. You're going to make it worse.
Rays minus 140, Braves plus 105, Red Sox minus 130, Diamondbacks minus 170, Dodgers minus 150, Orioles minus 165. Lots of good MLB plays today.
I'm tapping into one of my offshore accounts, and I'm going to save this country.
Jesus Christ, how the fuck did either of you two get elected?
Oh, Matt Fowler, where did you find that? By the way, that just adds to your legend of your gambling, aficionado-ness, if that's even a word. Yeah. By the way, Beast is in the waiting room, Matt. Oh, you just let her back in. So where did you find that?
It's on various platforms. There's other ones, Instagram, TikTok, and then there's other ones as if. Donald Trump and Joe Biden were offensive coordinators on some team where they, completely screwed up and they have the footage, and it's pretty funny. So I figured Drew would like that because he's an MLB guy. And
did you ever see the one? This is not ChatGPT related. Did you ever see the one where it was a German movie about Hitler and he's in his bunker and he's going off about being a Cowboy fan?
Yeah.
It made me laugh so hard I was crying. It was so good.
See, but we can't do the audio for that because that requires the subtitles. But yes,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah.
All right.
I figured a
little sidebar there.
Okay. All right. Let's get into what I thought today would really look like with Drew Goldfarb of DGPicks.com joining us. Drew. The NCAA tournament, you've had a chance to look at it. I heard an interesting person who works in a similar line as you on a sports talk radio show yesterday saying he thought that there would be great value in take all the 13 and 12 seeds and bet those 16 seeds both on the money line and with the points. And that the numbers would dictate historically that you'll come out ahead if you do that. Your thoughts on that, first of all, and are there any other nuggets that you can share with people who might be interested in getting in on some of this tourney action?
Yeah, so especially early on, I mean, if you're going to be betting on the NCAA tournament, I would say one of the better strategies early, I think, is to do more smaller wagers, because what you just mentioned, the 12 over 5 is the classic one, right? There has been, since 1985, there have been 53 12 over 5 upsets, which averages about 1.5 a year. So if you're taking those teams, if you're looking at a 12 and you're getting 2-1 or better, and you're basically, if you take all 4 and you get, this is a year where you get 2 of them, you'll make quite a bit of money on that. So if you're spreading it out that way, I think that, and this was, I was going to mention this about the ChatGPT thing, about computer Donald Trump's betting strategy. I do not endorse that, because when he was mentioning all of his baseball picks, most of them were in the -140 to -165 range. That is not a good approach. If you're betting on like 5 or 6 games, is to take all favorites. That is a great way to lose money, because you have to be so much more successful, so much more consistently if you're going to take favorites. If you're going to bet a 1 versus a 16, you're going to get nothing. You're going to have to put up hundreds of dollars to win. North Carolina against Wagner is a -6,500 favorite.
Ooh.
So to translate that, if you want to win $100 betting UNC to win, you've got to lay a 4-year-old Toyota Corolla.
Wait. Which sportsbook would take the 4-year-old Toyota Corolla? You roll up. Hey, here's the keys.
Go to CarMax, sell your 4-year-old Toyota Corolla, put it all on DraftKings at -6,500. North Carolina, that's literally $6,500 to bet to win 100. They're a 25.5-point favorite. Betting on a game like that will not make you money.
No.
If you want to try like parlaying something like that just for fun, to try like take all the 4 number 1 seeds, you're still not going to get good value, because they're all going to be such massive favorites. So when you talk about taking the 12s and the 13s, that's a pretty decent approach. I'm not saying to take like your normal full-size bet. If you're going to bet on 2-3 NBA games in a night, what you would bet on those, don't do that for the 12s and 13s, because there are so many games that you're going to have to wager on. But if you're going to basically take one bet and split it amongst 4 12 seeds and one bet and split it amongst 4 13 seeds, go for it. Because if you get 2 upsets out of 4, you're going to make a significant, or at least make a decent amount of money on that. So if you're not going to pick and choose, and this is the NCAA tournament, think about every office pool you've ever been on, and accounting or like public relations or HR always wins. It's always someone who has never watched a game that just like picks randomly. It's the NCAA tournament. Have fun with it. Don't go big. Go with a lot. Go with bigger, more games than more money per game. And you can't make money taking the 1 seeds unless you're betting on them to make the Final Four or to win the national championship, which that is an approach. Because there was a great article that ESPN ran that 59% of national champions since 1979 have been 1 seeds. So if you're, I mean, obviously a little late for making your own bracket, but hey, if you're trying to place a bet on one of the teams to win a national championship, better than a 50-50 shot based on history that it will be a 1 seed.
How much of this is heaven versus hell? I think if you're a sports bettor, you know, every night you pick your games. But this is one of those things. It's not just the bracket people. You've got a significant amount of games for 4 straight days. Is it like going to the ice cream store and saying, you know, you can eat anything you want, and the next thing you know, you're getting sick on ice cream? Is it almost too much volume for you to really break down maybe the better values that you have in front of you?
If you're going to do this, I would say 1 or 2 approaches, because that's a really good analogy on that kind of thing. It's all you can eat ice cream, right? You can take the approach of, you know what your favorite is, so you're going to play it smart, and you're going to get a normal serving size, and you're going to just go back when your flavor is available and fresh, right? Or like McDonald's fries, right? You don't need the end of that batch. You want the fresh one. So you can sit there all day, but when you see that new batch goes in, go up and order the large, right? So that's one approach that you could take. The other one is, you could take a little bit of everything and basically just, you know, like I said, if you want to take a little sampler, if you're going to basically go around that mall food court like you would have 25 years ago and get a little taste of the chicken at whatever the Chinese restaurant is there, and you want to go see if you can get like a sample of the ice cream, and you want to go that kind of thing, that's cool too. So if you're trying to make money off of it and not like just increase your enjoyment, you should approach this like you're approaching any day, right? Which is to say that you're going to find your value, you're going to pick your battles, and you're going to go with that. If you're trying to bet on everything, you're having fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. Smaller wagers, more fun throughout. That's the equivalent of doing a parlay on an NFL Sunday with the 1 o'clock game, the 4 o'clock game, and the Sunday night game. That is a great way to have fun. Probably not the best way to make money, but that is a great way to have fun with it. So, pick your approach, because there's multiple ways that you can go about doing it. Sometimes if I walk into a casino, I like throwing $20 in a Wheel of Fortune slot machine. I'm not expecting to make money off of that. It's just fun to do for the 1 to 15 minutes I'm going to play. And then there's times I want to make sure that I'm, making money, that I'm not just spending it on entertainment.
The Wheel of Fortune money machine normally lasts 10 seconds, but 1 minute, maybe it did all right. Drew Goldfarb is with us. He's at dgpicks.com. So, Drew, do you have any specific picks for us as you look at the tournament? Some value, some teams that you think people should be looking at?
It's more just that kind of general guidance on where you're gonna pick on that. The upsets and looking at underdogs, like I said, do not look at the 1 versus 16 games. Those upsets, if you go back a few years, you could say never happen. But now you have to say so infrequently happen that it's just not worth it. And it's really not worth taking like a UNC at minus 6,500. And on the other side of that, it's only plus 2,000. So you're only getting 20 to 1. That's not even worth it to take Wagner in that situation, because it's minus 6,500 versus plus 2,000. That is so much juice on both ends of that. But this is a situation where like live betting can be a way to find a bit of value, because you mentioned some of the running scores, and I've been keeping an eye on it. Duquesne is currently up by 10 on BYU. That's an 11 versus a 6 seed. Now, there's only 14 minutes left in the second half of that game. So if you had gone back to the beginning of the second half where the score was similar, BYU was down by a little bit, you could find BYU at plus money. Now, if that's a team that you would take plus money before the game starts, if you find a team down early on in the game, that line for the live bets can shift. Right now, Duquesne to win is minus 175 money line, but minus 2.5, they're minus 120. They're currently up by 10. So that's a situation. The live betting, I think, is where the early round matchups are really intriguing, because if you have a high seed that you like that is down early, if you're looking later on and Auburn or Duke are down, or Marquette is down, maybe they're down by 3 at the half, that's probably the best value you're ever going to see on that game taking the favorite. So that is what I would kind of keep an eye out for, is where an underdog seed goes on a run late enough in the first half or early enough in the second half where it's going to shift the line, right? Because if it happens, if it's 4-0 Yale, the line's not moving. You're not going to get Auburn at plus money or anywhere close. But
if it's 13-0 Yale, then it might move.
It might move a little bit, but at that point, you're still the sports book is going to hesitate a little bit, because 13-0 run to open the game, you're still talking about 35 minutes left.
Right.
And you're talking about a 4 versus a 13. If you are getting late in the first half and Yale is up and it's 30-22, well, if before the game you would think Auburn wins by double digits, the idea that they would outscore Yale by double digits the rest of the way is not shocking. So that is something that I would say to keep an eye on. If you're looking at a favorite situation, keep an eye out for a favorite that trails late in the first half, because that is where you can find value on that team. Doesn't mean that they're going to come back to win, but that's the only way you're going to get value on a game like that. And ignore the 1 versus 16s.
By the way, we have our first final. Hey, Coach, I know you saw it.
We do.
Yeah, go ahead with your question.
Yep, let's
Michigan,
go for it.
Michigan State wins. Michigan State wins. They're
go
moving
for
on. So anyway, Coach, go ahead. What was your question?
How much do injuries play a factor into, especially these early games? Because you see, Kansas is one of those, true blue programs. Everyone loves Kansas. They had a great year. All of a sudden, they got some guys hurt late. And I wonder if average Joe out there who's putting their brackets together or is trying to lay some money on some of these games individually, how much do injuries? Florida lost one of their starters. I think their starting big man they lost, not going to play in the tournament. Play a factor in I guess point spreads and really on the psyche of the average gambler making their picks.
I think that early on when you're talking about a Florida matchup, there are 7 playing a 10, so that is going to be a little tighter to begin with. When you're talking about Kansas, their line right now, they're minus 298 at DraftKings. Samford is a plus 240 underdog. I'm sure that line would be wider because if you look at the other 4-13 matchups, they are not quite that tight. But they're going to play a factor. I think that it becomes, if you're looking at the long-term bets, if you're looking at betting on a national champion or making the Final Four kind of situation, I think that comes into play. If you've got, I'm going to, again, use the 1 versus 16 thing. I don't think that's going to move anything. But the closer the teams were prior to an injury, the more movement you're going to see. And I do think that can create value on the favorite. That can work to your advantage if you have done enough digging to believe that Florida is still going to beat Colorado. You're going to get better value on that. You may not take Florida to advance past Marquette in round 2,
right.
But you're going to get better value on the teams early on if they have some of those injuries because it is going to close the gap.
There's no value on Florida over Colorado because Colorado's going to win. Anyway, Drew,
I hope you're right. I've got Colorado.
I'm an FSU grad, so I don't bet on UF or try to because it's it's hard for me to make sure I filtered out my personal biases against the Gators.
All right, Drew, real quick, I'll run through a couple of we did our bracket yesterday. I just want to know how you feel about some of our picks. And I'm saying we. I'm not saying who did what, but Yale over Duke.
Yale over Duke.
Yeah.
That would be something, wouldn't it? Throw $1 on Yale if you've got Yale over Duke to win the Natty, because don't bet on anything else if that's what you really think.
How about we've got Vermont over maybe is Yale playing Duke? We got Vermont over Duke.
Yale's got Auburn.
Who is Yale? Okay, Yale over Auburn and Vermont over Duke are 2 of our big upsets. What do you think?
I thought you were projecting a national champion.
No. My bracket is cut off for some reason. I'm not seeing the full thing. I'm only seeing the winners. So, yeah, we got Yale winning. We got Vermont winning. We've got what other big upsets do we have, if any?
One of the upsets that's currently potentially in the making right now is one of the picks that I personally had, and that is Duquesne over BYU.
Okay, Duquesne. I'm buying a jersey, man. I'm all on board.
The Duquesne Dukes. All right, do you have a favorite for an upset? Do you have a Final Four, Drew?
I do. I did do a bracket yesterday, although I'm not logged in apparently for that, so I don't have that handy with me. So I apologize for that. But like I said, for the first round of the NCAA tournament, my favorite strategy on it is to basically just kind of spread it out a little bit. I don't try to pinpoint one upset over another because it's, I've taken part. I worked in local news for 8 years and did the brackets every single year with that and never came close. It's always someone in sales. It's always someone that has never watched it, that doesn't pay attention.
Yeah.
It's someone that picked colors or mascots or, or something along those lines. Or like they had a cousin that went somewhere, or they thought that they were picking
That's why
Duke,
you got to do it,
Duquesne. Though. Yeah, it's for fun. So, like I said, my strategy would be the 12s over the 5s and hope this is one of the years where we get 2 upsets instead of 1.
Yeah, by the way, Coz, we did on our collective LFG bracket, we did take Mississippi State. So our dreams of a perfect $1 million bracket have been dashed.
Yep. Pick the wrong MSU.
So I'm going to go into Life Savings tonight and put it on Mega Millions, and then everything will be okay.
I live in Nevada, so I don't have access to that. So if you want to, just throw a little bit my way, and for that, if you do win.
Drew, if I win Mega Millions, I'll hook you up, brother. I will definitely take good care of you, man.
What do we at LFG? Chop liver here? I mean, what about us? What about us, Dave?
Well, you got to ask.
Yeah, you didn't ask.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
and you could go play. Do they have Mega Millions in Tennessee, Coase?
They do. We have everything. We have the Powerball. We have the Mega Millions. We got it all here. We got it's legal to sports wager with the app on your phone. So we got a lot of degenerate activity going on here in Tennessee.
Oh, great stuff. All right. Well, Drew, listen,
Yep.
I'm gonna let you bounce, man. We kept you almost an hour today, and I do appreciate you coming on. Great insights and great takes. Great Star Wars stuff out of Drew Goldfarb here today. Where's my? I had Star Wars up, but now it's not.
Did you have the Jar Jar Binks sounder? The Jar Jar Binks voice?
I don't have a Jar Jar Binks. Oh, here we go. I found it again. Oh, it's gonna make me listen to an ad again. I bet this is.
Misa love gambling. Misa love gambling.
Misa love gambling? What are you talking about, man?
Jar Jar Binks.
By the way, I had Purdue. I just pulled up my bracket. I had Purdue winning over. I went Iowa State. Purdue, Iowa State was my.
Wow, good for you. I you know what? I hope that happens. That'd be better than UConn and.
I had Purdue as well. I had Purdue in my individual
I have
bracket.
UConn Purdue.
I love that.
I have UConn Purdue.
I have UConn Purdue.
Yeah.
I have UConn Purdue.
So we're all going to have our brackets busted at the same time. That's good to know.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Hey, once our brackets are busted, we'll have more time to find the social media handles for all the Star Wars actors and let them know that it's all trash. Although they did redeem themselves with The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian was redemption.
Never saw The Mandalorian.
Really?
Mandalorian's great. The Acolyte trailer looks fantastic. I've really been enjoying The Bad Batch. I watched Clone Wars, and you know, Dave, I have an exercise bike. I've put like 2,000 miles on it in the last 4 years, and I've done it basically watching all the Star Wars content I never did when it was coming out. So I am fully caught up. All of the Star Wars stuff has been great. Also went to Star Wars Land like 2 weeks ago. Had a blast.
I didn't know there was a Star Wars Land, but
Disneyland and Disney World, both of them. Yeah.
All right. Good stuff.
Rise of the Resistance, amazing ride. Don't spread your freaking relatives' ashes. Apparently someone did that last week on that ride.
What? What?
Oh my God! Just
what did they do?
They tried. They spread.
You can't leave yet.
Yeah, no.
They brought a relative's ashes on Rise of the Resistance, which is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, theme park ride I've ever ridden on. And my family went to Universal all the time growing up in South Florida. And they apparently spread it on the ride, and they had to shut it down and clean it up. Here's the thing. If you're thinking about doing that, what ends up happening is your relative ends up in the garbage because it's going to sit there for like an hour or 30 minutes, and it's going to be vacuumed up, thrown into the dustbin, and it's going to be just covered with the vomit and everything else that they had to clean up in the park that day. So if you're thinking like, oh, this would be a really nice way. I love Star Wars. Do not spread my ashes at Disneyland. Like, please.
We've got that on tape, right, Matt? We will not do that.
We do have that on tape. By the way, wait a minute, Dave. How do you not understand my Jar Jar Binks impression? I mean, seriously?
Listen, I got to be honest with you. I've tried to black out the whole Jar Jar Binks portion of the Star
Agreed.
Wars series.
That was a bad era of Star Wars.
That was terrible. That was the worst.
He was a great addition in the animated series because they leaned into who he was as a character, which was great. There were literal storylines that they created where they're like, wait, what happened? Were we attacked by battle droids? No. Did Jar Jar do it? Yeah. And then that's literally the whole explanation. They're like, well, that makes sense. Let's go ahead and fix this now. And it's
Wasn't
great.
Jar Jar Binks a make-believe character?
He was CGI.
It wasn't in the books, right?
Oh, I mean, it's... I don't try to draw the line there because, especially because that the prequel was entirely George Lucas. So like, it's, you know, he was a George Lucas creation in the same way that like Ewoks were 20 years prior.
Gotcha.
So,
Drew, settle something for me as a Star Wars. You're more of a Star Wars fanatic than I am, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But you know as well as I do. I mean, the people that they take this stuff. The fans take this stuff really seriously. So I met George Lucas at a Warriors game like 10, 15 years ago. I was able to run down.
Were they playing the Timberwolves?
You know what? Jim, I'm seriously, man. I'm going to even throw something at you next time I see you, man.
Go ahead.
My aunt had worked for him at the ranch, and so I was able to get down there and say hi, and he was really nice.
That's cool.
I told him, I said, "Hey, Indiana Jones is my favorite," and he laughed, and he appreciated that, right? Went back
That's
to
nice.
school. Went back to school the next day. Told my friend who was a huge Star Wars nut, and he goes, "Oh my God, I cannot believe you had the chance to tell George Lucas anything. He told me Indiana Jones, of all things, Indiana Jones." And I'm like, come on, man. How often has he heard Star Wars,
I know. Indiana Jones is pretty boss. That's a good pull.
Yeah, I mean, and if it's your favorite, you don't have to change it. You don't need to lie, just especially because if you're going from one of his things to another, that's totally fine.
Well, the thing that my friend didn't like was I told him, I said, "Oh yeah, George Lucas just a normal guy." He's like, "He's not a normal guy. He's a genius. Oh my, he's not a normal guy. He's not a normal person." It's like, yeah, he is.
He's incredibly creative. He is responsible for creating the universe that I absolutely adore. His writing for people speaking in movies left a little room to be desired, which is why Empire Strikes Back was so amazing. And if you haven't seen the clip on YouTube, pull it up when you get a chance, of Mark Hamill going back to the 70s, giving an interview about the line that he begged George Lucas to remove from the original Star Wars movie, that he successfully got it removed. And you'll kind of see what I mean by that. And then the prequels make sense.
That sounds interesting.
That's a teaser,
Now,
Matt Fowler. That's a job for you to find out what that is, Matt.
Okay.
We need that.
Yeah, do that.
I think
and
it was
then
on Johnny
just
Carson.
to follow up.
On Johnny
good.
Carson.
That's
all.
all.
Right.
Anytime you get some Carson. I would have said this, Matt. When I'd have met him, I'd have said, "Man, I really loved American Graffiti. I thought that was awesome." And then I would have been silent, and I would have said, "Have you done anything since then?" That's how I would have done the whole George Lucas thing. That's how I'd have done the whole George Lucas thing.
I would have just gone up to him and I would have said, "Hey, George, are you a fan of the
Minnesota Timberwolves?"
That's what I would ask him.
You all suck. You know what? Produce your own show. I'm out. Timberwolves.
If you wanted to make it a joke, if we're going for that, then what you do is you walk up to George Lucas and be like, "Man, I am such a big fan of Star Wars. Live long and prosper." And that's what you do.
Oh,
If you're going to make that.
That would be
sure
good.
You've heard that a billion times before. I would never be able to physically do that, as funny as I might think it would be in hyperbole. But no, it's George Lucas. It would be very cool.
That's a good bit, yeah.
All right, we've digressed quite a bit, so we are officially gonna say goodbye to Drew and take our bottom of the hour break. Matt Fowler will update us on all the madness coming up on the other side of the timeout, and we will open up our Thursday mailbag, and then Tony Bruno will be joining us for the crossover. It is the Thursday edition of LFG, and we're back after this quick timeout. Drew, that was great, man. Thanks so much for hanging in for so long.
Thanks,
yeah, of course.
Hopefully next week we won't have another gambling scandal to discuss.
I would agree. If you want to talk some more Star Wars, I've got it's on the other side of my set, but I do have my Kylo Ren mask from Episode 8.
I love it.
Or 9 over there. So with the cracks and it lights up.
I'll text you the picture that I have of me and Lucas.
Nice. And yeah, the Hamill thing is. That is, there's the long story about the original Star Wars movie being saved in the edit bay because the writing for the dialogue was so bad. If you search Mark Hamill worst line, you're looking for the top video there.
Okay.
52 seconds long, 20,000 views. It was posted a year ago.
Okay.
And yeah.
What was the line? What was the line?
Oh, I could just play it.
Harrison says, "Look, kid, I've done my part of the bargain. When I get to an asteroid, you, the old man, and the droids get dropped off." And my line was, "But we can't turn back. Fear is their greatest defense. I doubt if the actual security there is any greater than it was on Aquilai or Soas. And what there is most likely directed towards a large-scale assault."
What?
And I thought, who talks like this, George? I mean, this is really not fair because, we're the ones that are going to get vegetables thrown at us, not you. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, love
That's
it.
hilarious.
Yeah. So, Yeah, the writing gets better. But then when people point out the sequel trilogy, be like, oh, the writing. I'm like, did you watch the original movie? Like, this is at the very least on par. So, anyway.
All right, buddy.
Guys.
Talk to you later. Thanks.
Awesome.
Yep, thank you. See ya.
All right, I'm just going to go with scores.
Okay.
Just for the update. Yeah.
Dude, is there a fight going on? There was a fight in the Duquesne BYU game.
What? Dang it. I'm going to watch that.
Movement that inspires.
All right. Rejoiner and I don't know why there's no.
Sports update?
No. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's the bottom of the hour, or close enough. Time for your Tickscape Studios Sports Update with Matt Fowler.
Men's college NCAA tournament update. Duquesne leading BYU 52-49. Creighton leading at the half 39-34 over Akron. Long Beach State trying to hang in against Arizona. And that's what we got going on in the early window for all your news, updates, and all that other good stuff. Tune into the Tony Bruno Sports Network on the TBSN app. Now back to Dave Benz and Jim Kozimor on LFG.
All right, guys, great stuff out of Drew Goldfarb, as always. And I'm sure you guys have the tournament on in the background on your TVs. I am curious, am I just not seeing it, or do they not have the names of the cities where these games are being played on the floor this year? I'm used to being able to look on the floor and visually be able to see, oh, Indianapolis, Minneapolis, Phoenix, I'm not seeing it. And I'm curious, like, okay, I'm seeing it's the South region or it's the West region. I don't know where the games are actually at. I don't have my bracket in front of me. I like that visual identifier to just be able to see it on the court.
Yeah, that's a good one because I don't see it on the court, and I don't see it on the dasher board, which is the table where the scoring table. I don't see any of it on that. And you're right. There usually is, even if it's a rotating board, there usually is an identifier of where we are. But I have not seen it yet. So we will, I'll keep watching. But we'll see. No, I mean, you just see first round. On the corners, you don't see anything. Omaha, there it is. Yeah, there. You see it at midcourt? I'm watching Duquesne, my team, the Duquesne Dukes, taking on BYU, and it says Omaha right at center court, like when they're doing the big sweep of the camera from one team walks it across the timeline.
Okay, I've got Duquesne on now as well, but I'm currently seeing not a shot that shows me the court. Anyway, I digress. Guys, it is become perhaps our most popular segment here on the show, and of course, I can only be talking about the Timberwolves. I am talking about the day that we open up our mailbag.
We get letters. We get stacks and stacks of letters.
All right, we get letters here every week to LFG, and we spread them around. And Jim Kozimor and Matt Fowler, you guys have each been given one of the letters from the mailbag that came in at lfgradioshow.com via ChatGPT. Also, with some assistance from Bisa, our intern extraordinaire today, who was a liaison that worked closely with ChatGPT on these letters today. And Jim Kozimor, I will let you have the first crack at it today out of the LFG mailbag.
Are we doing an over and under today, by the way?
Yeah, we can after this, sure.
Well, if you want to, if we have time.
Okay.
I know Tony's going to be waiting in the wings. And by the way, I banned Miss Robin from the show today because she is a Jar Jar Binks fan.
Ooh.
And so I've banned her from the show.
Okay.
So
I was wondering who you were banning. I saw that. I
Yes.
didn't see who you were banning.
Yes. All right, dear LFG. I hope this letter finds you chuckling. Oh, this should be interesting. I hope this letter finds you chuckling as I recount a tale that even the baseball gods found amusing. Picture this. During our last game, instead of the 8th inning ending with the score 2-2, this baseball decided to turn my glove into a black hole and snuck through a secret portal in the webbing of my mitt. Not only that, it was the first official game of the season in Seoul, Korea, no less! ! Now, I must admit, I've seen some quirky plays in my time, but this one takes the cake, or should I say the glove? Oh, that was witty. It's like my mitt decided to moonlight as a Swiss cheese impersonator. Well done. While I'm all for adding a touch of magic to our games, I'd prefer my equipment to stick to its day job of catching balls, not serving as a makeshift bag of holding. Okay.
Okay.
So in the name, did I read that wrong?
I don't know. I didn't write the letter.
So, in the name of maintaining order on the field, I kindly request a thorough investigation into my mitt's newfound talent for harboring stowaways. After all, I signed up to play baseball, not host a circus act. Thanks for your attention to this matter, and here's to hoping my mitt gets back to its senses and stitches pronto. With a wink and a smile, Jay Cronenworth. Jay Cronenworth.
I wonder who that could have been. Jay
I know.
Cronenworth.
I know.
Interesting. An equipment malfunction. All right, Matt Fowler, what's in your mailbag today?
All right, this one. Dear LFG, greetings from the city of Dayton, where the madness of March is as ingrained in our culture as chili is on spaghetti. We hope this letter finds you in good spirits, although we
Is that a Dayton thing? Is that a Dayton thing, chili on spaghetti?
Apparently. I don't know. I got relatives in Ohio.
All right.
I gotta check that out. We hope this letter finds you in good spirits, although we suspect your mailbag is already overflowing with pleas and petitions from hopeful cities vying for that coveted Final Four spot. Hope maybe Jim and Dave could talk some sense into the NCAA selection committee, since they seem pretty tight. We've been hosting the Final Four for what seems like eons.
The Final Four?
First four. The first four for what seems like eons. Our love for basketball runs deeper than the Ohio River, and our passion for the game rivals that of any other city in the country. Plus, we've got the snacks to prove it. Ever tried a Buckeye dipped in Skyline chili? It's a game changer. Dayton may not be the biggest city on the map, but what we lack inside, we make up for in chili and spirit. And let's not forget about the logistics. We've got a state-of-the-art arena just waiting to become the best of the best. Our facilities are top-notch. Our hotels are cozy. Apparently. Our facilities are top-notch, and our hotels are cozy and reasonably priced. And our streets are lined with enough barbecue joints to satisfy even the pickiest of palates. Well, I don't know how Jim feels about that one. He likes barbecue.
I do like barbecue.
Who doesn't like barbecue?
Well,
Yeah.
That's not a dig at you. I'm just saying you like barbecue. So,
It's true.
Dear selection committee, we implore you, give Dayton a chance to shine. We'll be waiting eagerly for your decision, armed with our foam fingers and face paint and, lack of championships. Oh, wait. Ready to cheer our hearts out for whichever lucky team makes it to the Final Four. With love and unrealistic basketball dreams. D. Ohio.
So Dayton, Ohio want not just the first four, because they want the Final Four.
Is that what you surmised from that letter? Is that what you came away with? Okay, I'll buy that.
That's what. Yeah, Dayton's going after the Final Four now. They're making a run for the Final Four.
I hope they get it. Even though you have to have a big football stadium to get it now. They don't play it in basketball arenas anymore.
Well, there you go. All right.
How about you win some professional championships before you start asking?
It's Dayton. They don't have a pro team.
No,
All
just the state in general.
Guys, our last letter.
Cleveland Cavaliers. Go ahead.
Our last letter is a late entry. It came into the inbox just a few moments ago, but I'm going to read it because it's topical. Dear LFG Radio Show, we are writing to express our collective perspective on the positive impact sports gambling has had on the world of sports.
Okay.
There you go.
Over the years, sports gambling has emerged as a significant aspect of the sports industry, contributing to its growth and popularity in numerous ways. Fans have been provided with an engaging and interactive way to connect with their favorite sports and teams. In some instances, it has even prompted folks to personally establish relationships with coaches and players. We are all about promoting togetherness. It is undeniable that sports gambling generates substantial revenue, benefiting not only the operators, but also the sports organizations and communities at large. This influx of funds has enabled leagues to invest in infrastructure, talent development, and grassroots initiatives. While it is true that in any form of gambling there are inevitably more losers than winners, it is essential to recognize the positive impact successful bettors can have. For those who excel in their predictions and strategies, sports gambling can offer lucrative rewards such as yachts, private jets, and dates with supermodels.
Hilarious.
This serves as an incentive for individuals to immerse themselves further in the world of sports, driving engagement and interest across various demographics. In conclusion, we believe that sports gambling, when conducted responsibly and within bounds of regulation, has positively contributed to the overall vibrancy of sporting culture. We thank you for your support and your offshore wire transfers. D Kings, F Duel, and P Picks.
I love that. I think that's a super duper letter right there.
I'm all for that. My friend sent me something this morning. Sent me a picture of somebody looking very puzzled, and it said Shohei Ohtani looking at the score of the Padres-Dodgers game, and the Dodgers are getting lit up, but then he remembers he took the Padres money line anyway.
That is so wrong.
That is harsh.
Anyway, if you've got a letter you want to contribute, lfgradioshow@gmail.com, and we read the letters every Thursday.
We get letters.
I just wanted to play that sounder again. I love that.
I do like that sounder. I think that is quality.
That's from Perry Como back in the 1950s. That's where
back
that
when we were a great
from.
country. I love it. I love it. We got to go back to that era.
Yeah, we got to go back to that era. And my video of the basketball suddenly froze up. Okay, there we go. Now I got it back.
Dude, let me tell you something. One of the great stories in college sports is Long Beach college basketball. Is Long Beach State firing their head coach during the conference tournament? They agreed to part ways. Long Beach State then goes on to win their conference tournament in a surprising fashion. And the coach comes out and says, he's a lame dunk coach, and he says, I'm a Seinfeld episode. The athletic director, and Matt had this in his update, the athletic director who fired Dan Monson, the head coach of the team, said, quote, my belief and hope is that by doing what I did and the timing of it, they would play inspired, and that's what they did. That's Bobby Smitherin, who's the guy. And then he goes on to say, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but it worked. Come on. You can't tell me, athletic director, you've got egg all over your big fat face, and now you're trying to take credit for this stuff?
That might be grounds for somebody to call a lawyer or something. I mean, if you're going to come out public, I mean, seriously.
In this ballgame.
Yeah, that's right, bitch.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Stay in this game.
I don't get it, man. Really? You're firing somebody, and now you're going to take credit for I fired the guy, and now look at us, we're in the NCAA tournament. Oh, yeah, by the way, we're only down by 4 against Arizona late in the first half.
Dude, they're right in it, and they're actually a pretty smart team. Like, they just took a foul, and the guy with fewer fouls was pointing at himself to the ref, which I think it was a crap call, I might add. But I'm all over Long Beach State. You go. What do you think their nickname is? Broncos, the Hags,
I don't know.
The
Long
Waves. No, that's Pepperdine, right?
Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Long
Beach. Hang on. Long Beach State. I don't know.
They won the Big West, so they beat a rough UC Davis team.
Matt, I'm waiting on it.
I'm looking.
Or Sac State. Maybe they beat Sac State.
It doesn't have
They're are they the Wolves? I feel like they're not the Timberwolves.
Oh, are you sure? Are you sure? I think you've got it there, Dave.
I don't know. All I know is Duquesne just got to stop. They're up 2, and they just got to stop. There's a minute remaining in Duquesne against
49ers,
BYU.
The Long Beach State 49ers.
I like it.
49ers.
I like it.
No, I'm not kidding. That's actually what it is.
I like it.
All right. Well,
good for them.
That's
Dude,
a good answer.
Dude, if DeQuisney wins this game, I am 0-2.
DeQuisney just missed at the rim, but I think they got a foul call. Or did they get a stop? No, they got a foul call. So DeQuisney.
How much time is left in your Dave on your end? In that
on mine, my feed was frozen for a second, and I was seeing a wheel because I'm watching on a streaming service. So I'm probably way behind.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm way behind.
Okay, so
I've got 49.9 remaining.
Yep.
I got 59.
I got 49 remaining as well.
And I got Jimmy Clark towing the stripe at the free throw line, and the first free throw was up, and it is good. And Duquesne now 1 free throw away from making it a 2-possession game.
How are you ahead of me? I haven't seen that yet.
Okay,
You're like 10 seconds. You're like 30 seconds ahead of me.
Well, here comes the second free throw. He spins
or
it. No,
you
no
could just
dribble.
let me enjoy it.
No
you
dribble.
Can let me enjoy it.
Too strong, and it's a one-pass. Oh, they did not get the offensive rebound. A scrum on the floor for the loose ball, and it's going to be a jump ball, and the possession arrow favors Duquesne.
Duquesne.
It's all over.
Yeah, I know it's Duquesne. I'm saying
BYU with BYU with a bunch of 27 and 28-year-olds just back off of mission are getting their stuff handed to them by Duquesne. Go Dukes!
By the way, we just got notice Tony will not join us for the crossover today as he's looking something up.
Is it because I banned her?
I think it's code for Tony wants to watch the end of this game.
I agree.
Unobstructedly. And frankly, I don't blame
Tony
him
for that. No, we do not blame Tony for that.
Yeah, I'm not citing any fault for that whatsoever. All right, so, Coach, you asked if we were going to do an over-under. We've got time now. We've got time for over-under. Let me see. Do I have the here you go. Let's see. What are you going with? You're going with over or under? Because I got a sounder for both.
You know what? I'm going to go I'm over something right now. I'm already over something, and we're only like 4 games in.
All right, it's over. What are you over? What are you over, Chris?
I'm over the way they cover this thing. I see Duquesne and BYU. I get no statistical information. I don't see Duquesne like 21-7 on the season versus BYU 22-8 on the season. I see no winner of WAC or winner of, so I see nothing. I think their coverage is awful on their graphics, and I'll tell you, I can't jump to my remote faster than when I see Kenny Smith and Sir Charles Barkley trying to talk about Creighton and whoever Creighton's playing right now. I wish they would just show the games with no sound at all and just let me enjoy the games.
So wait, you're calling for a ban on play-by-play announcers?
Yes, I'm calling on a ban on everything.
Wow.
I know. I'm harsh that way.
I don't know that
I'm hardcore.
I don't know that I could support any of that, Coz. I can't support a ban on play-by-play announcers. That's not a good look.
Kind of cut into your livelihood a little bit, Dave.
Yeah, that will cut into Coz's livelihood as well. Coz is
I think my career is well behind me, but I'm just saying for this particular tournament, it's exciting enough without hearing anything. I'm tired of it. Give me a little bit better graphical information.
No, hang on. You were talking about Barkley and Kenny Smith. They're not play-by-play announcers. They're analysts.
No.
So you're calling for a ban on who you would think would be stupid analysts, right?
I'm calling for a ban on guys who I think watch the college game even less than I watch the college game.
Yeah, that's fair, but let's. I mean, you're not calling for a ban on play-by-play announcers.
And no, but even during the game, I just shut the sound off and I just flip game to game to game.
By the way, my feed just froze. Now it's back. 36 seconds left. They just did put up a graphic, Coach. You were saying that they're not putting up graphics. This graphic, Duquesne's last NCAA tournament victory, 1969. So that would have been in the spring of 69. I was born in May of 69. So Duquesne has never won an NCAA tournament game in my lifetime.
So are you saying that Duquesne, the last time Duquesne won, we had a landing on the moon?
Yes, and
1969. Is that correct?
That is correct.
It's going to happen.
Which happened first? Was it a Duquesne? Which is the last thing to happen?
First. Duquesne happened first because the moon landing was in July of 69. So Duquesne happened.
So a moon landing has happened between wins in the NCAA tournament for Duquesne.
Yes.
That's correct.
That's a good fact.
Well,
that's a good fact.
Not only a moon landing, a space shuttle era, a pandemic. There've been a couple of things. The
reality star becoming president.
Woodstock 1, 2, and 3 all occurred.
Wait, where was 3? Woodstock 1 and 2. Where was 3?
There were 3 Woodstocks, dude. There was Woodstock 69, there was Woodstock 89, and Woodstock 94.
Oh, I thought there was 99. Do you remember 99?
Maybe it was 94, 99. You're right, because it was.
You know what? No,
was
99 was embarrassing.
99
was bad.
99 was the one that Matt somebody referenced on the Netflix doc. It was 94 though was actually held at the actual place where the original Woodstock was held. And that one was much better than the 99 one, which was a complete S show.
That was an S show that people should still be in prison over what went on at that one. I'll tell you, that was an awful, awful exchange.
So my Duquesne BYU game has frozen. So
17.7 seconds left. BYU down by 3. Duquesne going to the line for 2 shots.
Okay, and by the way, it's all over. North Carolina now a 6-point lead with 16:30 remaining. Go ahead and put the Tar Heels into the next.
Look at you! Oh man, that's rough. That is rough.
No,
Arizona
no.
has.
Wagner came back. They hit a 3. It's 6-3 now.
Exactly. Don't sleep on the Wagner Wags.
Creighton is now pulling away, by the way, from Akron. And Arizona has opened up a 6-point lead at the half. The madness is underway. I'm ready to just sit down in front of my TV and enjoy a bunch
I'm about
of
to be
college
0-2. Not me. I'm taking the dog for a walk. I've got life to live. You and your sports ball. You've got to live life. I'm going to read a book and walk the dog and not with a yo-yo, but I mean literally walk the dog.
So wait, so what is so you're 0-2? What are you what?
Yeah, I'm 0-2. I had Mississippi State and I had BYU.
Okay, but Coz we're back to 500 in our LFG radio show bracket. We've got Duquesne. We've got our first winner in our bracket.
Thank you, Matt Fowler.
We're going to go
Matt Fowler.
We're going to go 62-1, fellas, and it's going to be a 62-game win streak. And it'll still be the greatest bracket in the history of the NCAA tournament.
Dude, it would be, dude. Let's hope for it. Then in 30 years, they'll do a feature on us in something that's not ESPN. I just read this in a sports business publication. Media experts are saying ESPN is losing its hold as the sports leader and will most likely, what is it? Is it called the sports leader? What are they called?
They're the sports leader.
The global leader in sports?
That's it.
Worldwide leader in sports. That they're losing their hold on that, and in short time, they will no longer be looked at as the place to go for your sports content.
I don't believe that that's true. I don't think so. But as we wrap it up, we got, what music is this, Dave?
This is the ESPN Sports Center theme.
From when? 1977?
I don't know. It's just what came up when I put in ESPN.
It's a jazzy version of it. It's a jazzy version.
All right, 10 seconds. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Enjoy the madness. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Peace, B.
Nice.
Oh God.
That's great.
All right, that was fun. What do you guys want to do about MMA? You want to do it later this afternoon? When do you guys want to do it?
Yeah, whenever you guys want to do it, I'm good.
Coach?
I've got at 5:30 my 5:30 my time. I'm